Dude, Luke, the printer's still busted. What the fuck, man?
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to episode 26 of the Topless Robot Podcast. My name is Ryan. Oh, boy.
Yeehaw, partner.
It's all downhill from here.
It really is. It really, really is. Anyway, it has been a week.
Hasn't it always been a week?
It's always been a week.
Are you sure?
That's why I just keep reminding myself that it's been a week.
Is that how you track your passage of time?
Yes. Now has been a week.
Wakes up every Sunday. It's been a week.
One
unit of time has passed.
I do have a special message to pass along to Dan from one of our viewers who messaged me. He told me to say, Dan, you suck.
Oh,
thank you.
all right.
You crying yet?
Keep them coming.
Why couldn't the special friend call the phone
Yeah,
number?
I mean,
We have a phone number!
because he has called
Because he's already
a number of
called.
times.
He's already called like twice.
And here's the thing.
I was
You know,
hoping it was
this is
someone
my first podcast, so just like this is baby's first steps, like that's his first steps in the insult game. I want him to get better with each week. I
It's
believe.
that good culture and
Yeah.
deeply ingrained
It's
in you,
all
isn't it?
practice, every bit.
I want to do a training montage
is
with
that-
you and him and just no, not good enough.
Is that
Your mom is fat. No, that's no. Bad.
every bit, every day, we stray further from God's light.
That's how I'm trying to be.
So this week saw the first full trailer of Good Omens, which looks great.
Yes, it does.
I'm so
very,
excited.
very
I will watch and vigorously consume anything that's Neil Gaiman related.
I need to read the
Forever
book.
and ever and ever and ever. And
Yeah,
ever.
I've been
It's
audiobooking it.
amazing.
I have only read one of his books. I read American Gods.
I refuse to believe that there's a book you haven't read, Brooks.
You know,
You've only read
contrary to
American
popular belief, the Brooks that inhabits this multiverse
Okay.
only has a finite amount of time to read.
I haven't. I thought that you would read several books at a time, have them all out on pedestals, and
No,
and just flip.
I don't have them on pedestals.
He sits in a room in a meditation stance with his eyes closed, and as he hums, he draws information from the multiverse into his mind patterns. Therein lies the issue, is that he can't always make sense of everything he's bringing in. It becomes a word salad.
Yeah.
And sometimes knowledge is lost to his imperfections.
So do you basically read books
That's-
like Goku gathers energy from the universe for Spirit Bomb? Is
well,
that?
only if I roll a 10 or below.
Oh, okay.
that's one Dragon Ball Z reference. You're not allowed one for the rest of the year.
That was a good one. I'll take it.
Dragon Ball Z.
I haven't read any of his books, but I read Sandman when I was a kid.
Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream.
No,
Oh, boy.
no,
Become
No.
beauty I've
No.
ever seen.
Make
Oh my
Tyler
God.
funny. You know what I mean.
but yeah, I am very excited for that.
I'm hilarious.
It's gave us our first real signs of the plot, as opposed to the teasers, which established the relationship between Crowley and Aziraphale.
I would argue that the first real signs of the plot were in the book, but that's that's just me.
Because we're not talking about the book, I would
First
assume
of all,
that
fuck you.
contextually you'd figure that out.
You know, when we have our book club, Tyler, I'm gonna pick things that don't have TV shows.
God
For
damn
you.
it!
For you specifically.
But yeah, that comes on May 30th.
It's gonna be
Something like
May.
that.
It's gonna be me.
So that'd be cool.
How far are you in reading?
Not very far. I've been just listening to it in the car.
Okay, I just remember it was within the first 3 chapters reading that book, and I always end up casting characters in my head as I'm going along.
I like to do that.
Balasar is definitely. Wow, words are hard right
Crowley?
now. Crowley.
Yeah.
There was. Yeah, Crowley is definitely David Tennant, and I was just like, that was in my head. And then literally a week later, I was like,
what's actually really funny is the narrator of the audiobook, does Crowley's voice sounding like David Tennant.
Does he really?
Yeah, and I mean
Amazing.
this audiobook is well before the series was even a whisper. So
Yeah, I'm also excited for Martin Gina. You having fun, Brooke?
I am.
Don't stop talking.
this is remarkable content.
Nothing was stopping you two from talking.
I would argue that
'Twas me!
trying to balance his hats on his
Dark
mic
Wizard
stand.
Derailer.
Dan, you say like that. You say that like you don't know me. Like
You are very easily distracted.
you could like breathe on me, and I'll be like,
Have
"Oh,
you been
what?
taking your
Excuse me?"
Ritalin, Tyler?
No, I have not, and I never will, because I
Good-
feel like
good
this is
Ritalins.
the me that's most enjoyable to the people around me.
There you go. There's your low-hanging fruit of the day.
Did you just say Ritalins?
Yes,
Fuck.
good Ritalins.
I'm out.
I think we killed Ryan.
Riddle me this, Batman.
I finally watched Doom Patrol.
Yes.
Fucking great.
Fucking right. I told you.
Really fucking great.
it's
I
so
watched
good.
the extended trailer for it last night before I went to bed, and I've added it to my docket for this week of things to watch.
And I found it significant. Like, Titans felt like a chore to, get into. Like, I felt like I was obligated to give it a chance and give it more chances than it probably deserved.
It didn't deserve it any minute.
And I didn't feel like nothing about watching Doom Patrol has been a chore.
No, the thing with the Titans, I feel like Titans, it felt like it was trying so hard to be edgy and in your face, and like, this isn't
Frick Batman.
Yeah.
and all like, and that was immediately obvious from the beginning, but it didn't
Yeah.
really have its own voice. And
I mean, Doom Patrol's fairly
Doom
edgy.
Patrol's edgy, but it's like comfortable.
But it has
with that
Brendan
edginess.
Fraser.
Like and it's got
I am happy that Brendan Fraser.
Yeah,
Thanks for
'cause-
coming back, Brendan Fraser. I missed you.
Yeah,
miss
I've
him
missed
so
Brendan Fraser
much.
so much.
Yep.
I love him in The Mummy. But I think my favorite role of Brendan Fraser.
George of the Jungle.
No.
obviously
Encino Man?
George of the Jungle.
No. Although that's pretty good. No, is his role in Blast from the Past.
Oh, yes.
I love
Yep.
that movie unabashedly.
Yep. Blast from the Past is pretty good.
Well,
I actually really liked him in his
Mr.
small
Como.
role on Scrubs.
Scroobs.
Yeah, it was a very fleeting role, but it was
a very-
good.
it was
Yeah,
one of the
I
more-
vaguely remember that.
He played
Dr. Cox's brother.
Oh, that's right.
brother-in-law.
Yes, brother-in-law.
Brother-in-law.
Yes.
And he died.
Yeah.
And Dr. Cox.
Now I remember.
Spoilers,
He was,
Dan!
oh, fuck you. Dr. Cox was hallucinating
Yeah,
that he was
Scrubs
still alive
ended
for like
10
the whole
years ago.
episode.
Spoilers!
I am firmly in the stance of if something gets, I don't know what the exact age limit is, but if I feel in my head that it's been long enough, then fuck you for not watching it.
It's a little presumptuous of you. If I think that it's not
Yeah.
a spoiler, then it's no longer a spoiler.
world is
But
not-
let's be real. It ended
it's a
10 years
The
ago.
world is-
That episode was probably 15 years ago.
I think that was like first or second season.
There's no obligation on behalf of anyone to go out of their way to protect you from hearing about things that happened 10 years ago.
Yeah.
It's not like
I agree.
it's not
Get
like,
over yourself.
It's not like walking up to people in line, for the next Harry Potter book and being like, "Hey, yo,
Yeah, that's
Dumbledore dies."
But Finkel is Einhorn, you guys.
I know Finkel is
I mean, when like something has pervaded the pop culture sphere, like Scrubs, even for as long as it has, there's a certain point where you're gonna know what you're getting going in, anyways.
And if you cared that much about spoilers, why aren't you watching it?
Yeah, right.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's if Scrubs has been on your radar.
And I mean,
15 plus years.
Scrubs is the ideal bromance. Like, that is the perfect bromance in pop culture.
It was a great show.
really
I
was.
loved it.
And honestly,
Caught in a
Dr.
Brad
Cox is fucking great.
romance. I had to say
Caught
that.
in a Brad romance?
a rad bromance.
Still
heard
interfering
bread romance.
with some popular culture, as we've all seen that Fortnite straight ripped that dance off of Donald Faison.
yes.
Yeah.
An unscripted improvised dance.
Yep.
Another reason to hate Fortnite.
Yeah.
I give it
And
2 weeks.
8-year-olds.
I give it 2 weeks.
But do you guys remember, what is it, Monkey Bones?
Monkey
Monkey Bone.
Bones.
Was that the name of the
Yeah.
Monkey Bone?
I don't really remember it,
With
but-
Brendan Fraser, and he's a creator or whatever, and he goes into the universe that he created. I think he's in a coma or something.
I
Yeah.
I think that was the plot. I always, When someone describes the plot to that, I always cross that with Inkheart because I think that was the last thing I saw him in.
Yeah, I remember really enjoying that. And just in general, missing Brendan Fraser. So I am happy that he's back.
19% on Rotten Tomatoes.
America has,
What, Monkey Bone?
Whatever.
America
give a shit about that.
has needed its cool, possibly Canadian uncle in movies for a long time, and
Yep.
I'm glad he's back.
Yeah.
I am glad he's back.
Absolutely. And the reasons for his departure make me very sad and happy about the direction that, like the progress that the Me Too movement has made and things like that. I hope that at least played a little bit of a part in him coming out and telling his story and explaining his absence and then also returning to performance.
I actually think I missed this.
Yeah, I did not hear about why he was absent.
I don't know actually either.
All I knew is that
Actually, I mean, I know. You should tell everyone for these guys' benefit. but
Oh,
I know
it's that
everything.
guy in that
Clearly-
show with Kelsey Grammer.
some dark times for him. That's all I knew, and I knew it made him quit acting, and it was sad.
It was, let's see, he was blacklisted after sexual assault. So he was sexually assaulted and got blacklisted as a result.
And he came out and kind of did what
so
Terry
speaking
Crews
about the
did.
claims, Fraser said, okay, in a new GQ profile, Fraser claims he was accosted at an event by former HFPA President Philip Burke and alleges that he was groped on the buttocks by Burke when he offered to shake hands. Speaking about the claims, Fraser said, his left hand reaches around, grabs my ass cheek, and one of his fingers touches me in the taint. Ugh. And he starts moving it around. I felt ill. I felt like a little kid. I felt like there was a ball in my throat. I thought I was going to cry. Fraser revealed that he did not go to the police at the time because he didn't want the accusations to become part of his narrative. He added that the alleged encounter made him retreat from the spotlight and also put forward the argument that offers for major roles from Hollywood studios suddenly ceased to come forward.
Fuck
Jesus.
that, dude. Don't sexually abuse people. I mean, how many times are we gonna have to say that?
Yeah.
For the rest of time, probably.
And don't
Ever, ever,
don't
never,
be
never,
shitty.
never.
If you fuck up, don't blame anyone else.
Yeah.
It's your fault.
You've got no one to blame but yourself and decisions that you made that led to that point. Be that alcohol or any chemical substance intake, those were decisions that you made that led to your actions. It's all on you for having, poor judgment to lead to that moment. Own it and try and be a better person. That's all that the world is asking of these people.
I'd argue-
Own your mistakes and point, and be better. Be better than that. If it's something that happened 20 years ago, then and maybe it's not something that's going on anymore, I think that people can grow from those things, and I
Absolutely.
think that they should be encouraged to grow and should be re-embraced once they do grow from those things.
People should be allowed to progress as a person without being damned for all time.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Also-
but I think that this kind of bullshit is one of the especially because it's still happening, but that power dynamic with executive producers in Hollywood that seems to keep happening. Where Terry Crews had the same thing where he was sexually abused by, I forget the big Hollywood bigwig it was, but it's like when you take advantage of the power structure and your own status in any kind of industry to be able and use that as a way to do whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah.
Specifically, sexually abusing people. Part of me almost feels like, it's one thing to make a mistake and do something stupid, but it's another thing to be completely conscious of what you're doing, and that's evil. That's just evil.
Also, if you're using your position of power to make sexual dominance moves like that, guess what? You're no better than a fucking pack animal.
Yep.
That's all you're doing. It is a weird animal instinct that you have no control over, and you're just being a piece of shit.
Yep.
It's honestly like, if you work hard and you find yourself in a position of power because of your hard work, but the only motivation you have with that power is to do things like that, what a pathetic waste of potential.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
no kidding. No
It's
kidding.
a pathetic waste of potential. You could achieve so much more, but instead you're worried about feeling up fucking people good people like Brendan Fraser.
Brendan Fraser was a wholesome young man. Don't touch him.
Yeah.
And you're the fucking reason that he hasn't been in Hollywood for over a decade, and that just makes me fucking sad.
Yeah, he's
That's why.
To track back, though, you mentioned Terry Crews, and he definitely became a champion for this happens to everyone, and it took a lot of courage for him as a man to come forward, because men are held to a different standard with regard to these sorts of things as well. Like, so all the power to him for that, and it took a lot of courage to come forward with his thing. However, we are officially off of the Terry train. Because
what happened?
he made a lot, I think, and I'll have to look this up to verify, but I was told that he went on a tweet storm about how marriage needs to be between a man and a woman, and that not, having the maternal and paternal influence in the household ruins a child.
There it is.
Oh, Terry Crews.
Man, that sucks.
Well, that's what happens when you get to poke the brains of celebrities, or they're given a public platform to say things. Is
Booze for Crews, man.
a lot of people are.
He
shitty.
apologized 6 days ago.
Yeah, but he probably didn't mean it.
Well, I mean, we will never actually know if he meant it or not. His actions in the future will tell us.
Absolutely.
But
I'm of the opinion that
malnourished?
typically when someone like this, especially someone with a public persona, says something shitty and then apologizes several days later, it was probably their PR head saying, you need to apologize for this or it's going to hurt your reputation more than it already has.
Yeah.
I usually tend to think that it's saving face and not actually meant.
So, here's his words. Another thing that bothers me, he was talking about an op-ed, why does Obama scold black boys? He says, another thing that bothers me is that this op-ed was written by a woman about how boys should be taught to grow into successful young men. How would she know? Men need to hold other men accountable. You can speak with us, just not for us. There is a big difference. I've reiterated many times that same-sex couples and single parents can successfully raise a child, but I believe paternal and maternal love are like vitamins and minerals to humanity. No matter where you get that paternal and maternal love, my purpose is to give paternal love.
And then it says,
And someone said, love is not gendered. A child will not starve with only one gender loving them. As a response to that, he goes, but they will be severely malnourished.
I can see where his train of thought is going. He's obviously misinformed.
Yes.
And the fact that he has a platform to express opinions on said misinformation. I mean, we're seeing a lot of that, and I hope that Terry Crews can learn from saying such a stupid thing online.
Yeah,
like,
I hope so too.
Like,
because I mean, think like I was raised either with one parent or another parent through my entire life. I have never had both parents in my entire life. And so technically, I guess that makes me malnourished.
Yeah, I mean, my parents were divorced when I was a child, and same thing. I mean, I had a period of time where they were together, but
I had exposure to both, but never both at the same time. And the time with my dad, because he lived out of state, was once a year.
That makes me really sad, because Terry Crews has been a very strong champion of some pretty important stuff.
Yeah,
and that
I will say that I like the stuff previously that Terry Crews has said.
Yeah.
I disapprove of what he said here. My enthusiasm for Terry Crews has gone down a bit because of what he said, but my fingers are crossed that maybe he'll figure this out.
I think that hopefully he will, but the way that he said it sounded like the way people talk about religion and justify their words and actions because they have scripture behind it. Like, the wording that he used came from a place of certainty that can only come from that level of ignorance. And, it's, I don't know.
Even the way he said, because he obviously, the prefacing, the malnourished thing with that children of same-sex parents can be successful, or can like that can be successful. It's like it can be, but most of the time it's not.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that definitely is coming from a pretty ingrained place there.
Yup.
But I mean, the times are changing, and we are in a transitional period right now where you have people from the old school that who want to voice their opinions, and they can adapt to the changes, or they won't, and they'll either be written off or they'll be embraced as they grow. And I mean, I think that if Terry Crews was a regular person and had those opinions, he would be exactly the same as he is as a celebrity. But because he's a celebrity and wields more clout as far as being a public figure goes, I feel like if you harbor any kinds of feelings like that, voicing them on a public platform is not a great idea in the first place. Well, but correcting this kind of mentality, he's either going to see, maybe I'm wrong. And if he is wrong, he is wrong. But, but if he feels, okay, I'm wrong. How do I, fix this? It would be really cool to see somebody so public go on this kind of journey through, okay, so this is why I'm wrong.
Kind of like, interestingly, kind of like what Bill Nye did with GMO.
Yeah,
exactly.
He had a hard stance against GMOs for a long time, and then he did the research, and he came out and said, I was wrong about GMOs. Genetically modified foods is perfectly fine, and essentially we've been genetically modifying our food for centuries.
Yeah, if you're eating corn is a GMO. Bananas,
yeah.
potatoes,
Seedless watermelon.
Tyler.
I am a GMO.
Tyler is GMO. GMO.
Let's get away from the sad
Yes,
shit.
sadness is sad.
There's a lot of sad there, and I feel confident in that we're moving away from situations like these, and as a society, we've made grand strides, and will continue to do so, probably even at a faster pace once we've got Cheeto and Chief out of office. But
And the healing will begin.
yeah, that's what I believe anyway.
Yeah.
On a more positive note, I saw Captain Marvel
Oh,
on opening night.
Are you gonna go join the Air Force now?
Oh, I am gonna go join the Air Force immediately, so I can too get.
I have
some
to-
superpowers.
Why?
Did they have a recruitment office?
wild blue yonder.
They actually just played. No, they did not have a recruitment. I had a joke in my head. It was gone.
By
I'm not even
purchasing
gonna
it-
finish it.
By
So
purchasing a ticket to Captain Marvel, you too can meet with a recruiter immediately after the show.
Exactly. I have yet to see it. I'm still going to watch it. I suspect
same.
it's going to be an okay superhero movie. But all that I've heard so far is that all of the so-called feminist messages and all of that are heavily overshadowed by the fact that it says the Iraq War was A-OK, come join the Air Force. That's all I've heard so far, is that it's essentially a big recruitment ad, and there have actually been recruitment people waiting in the theaters for people.
Wow.
That's weird.
Spoiler
That is
alert: the Iraq War was a
See, I didn't-
terrible idea.
I did
Yeah.
not get that. I mean, it was
a
both of
terrible
them.
idea.
it was
not
fairly
It's not over yet.
positive,
God.
like Army or I guess Air Force positive, but I didn't really get any of that. I thought it was a great superhero movie. Had a little bit of a different flavor for an origin story, which I enjoyed. It wasn't the same tried old tale, even though it still had a lot of those elements.
I heard the soundtrack was banging. I saw the track list.
amazing. It was actually it was expected as a '90s movie.
Sure.
I didn't realize just how many Perry Como songs were in that movie.
Yeah, I am looking forward to it. I think Jasmine and I are going to try and see it on Tuesday.
It's really good, and just be prepared. You're going to cry.
I usually do.
It is Stanley related.
Queep.
I have heard.
And it is a very well done tribute to Stanley, which I heard maybe one of the last, if not the last. I thought that they had like 5 more, but I read an article the other day that said that there was 80%. This might be the last.
80% on Rotten Tomatoes.
But only 57% liked it.
Yeah, I don't really give a shit.
damn-
Audience score is nonsense. because there's a
You
bunch
damn
of
brigaders.
incel brigaders.
You damn brigadiers.
I
I enjoyed it quite a lot. It was a lot of fun. Samuel L. Jackson being aged backwards it was easily the best aging backwards I have ever seen.
Really?
Oh, it's
Is it better than the terrible Jeff Bridges from
it's
Twilight Zone?
it's also better than Johnny Depp in Pirates 5. But it's really weird. Like if I did not know who Samuel L. Jackson was and I walked into that movie theater, I would not have any idea that he wasn't the age that he looked. And it's pretty uncanny. And not Uncanny Valley. Like it doesn't have that weird sheen, like that obvious. Oh, you're
Sure.
That like weird fuzz with the
Yeah.
sharpness like on the edges. Yeah.
which they do have a little bit with Phil Coulson, a little bit.
Phil
but-
Collins.
Yes. Yes.
That's
can
your
feel-
go-to anytime anyone says Phil. I can count on you to
Yeah.
say Phil Collins.
Can you feel
Yeah.
it in the Brooks tonight?
I can feel it. Terrible jokes coming tonight. Oh Lord. I don't even like Phil Collins that much.
So you mentioned Jeff Bridges.
You might even say that was the genesis of that joke.
that was pretty good up top. All right. you finally get one, Tyler.
Podcast's over.
Well, speaking of the 90s,
You know,
Speaking,
I am not
Are you talking
often
Jeff
the most outspoken person on this podcast as far as how often I speak. You guys are making it very hard for me to chime in sometimes.
Sorry, Dan. We love you, Dan.
ring your gong.
so
Oh,
you know John Turturro. He was in. He's been in some Coen Brothers films. Most notably in The Big Lebowski.
yeah. Wait, he's not dead, is he?
No, he is not dead.
I know him from Transformers.
I learned about this because you shut your fucking dumb ass stupid face.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw a brick.
He is, of course, known as Jesus in Big Lebowski. Nobody fucks with the Jesus. I learned about this. Apparently, this was announced a long time ago. I just recently learned about this. There is a Big Lebowski sequel being made.
What?
Is it green eggs and ham up there?
It is going places,
Oh,
and it follows Jesus from The Big Lebowski.
Oh.
And
that's interesting.
we don't even know if so it's written by John Turturro and directed by John Turturro. Ethan and Joel Cohen get character credits for creating the characters, but as far as I know, they're not involved at all.
Okay.
Okay.
Curious.
And
have that shirt.
So it's like a Big Lebowski tangent.
Wait. Can you go back?
Right, it's a
back.
Big Lebowski spin.
You
Hold
do
on a
have that
second.
shirt.
I have that shirt.
That's the shirt that I'm wearing in that epic shot.
Yep.
And also Tyler owns it.
Yep.
That's my Facebook profile picture.
Yep.
That's
So
hilarious.
that's a thing
Also
that
weird.
is apparently coming out this year. But I saw it was announced back in 2016. And
It's
it says
completed.
completed. So,
Yeah, that's strange. That's strange.
yeah.
So I'm late to the bus on this. Shifting to a video game.
Okay.
I booted up Shenmue for the first time yesterday on
Oh,
the
boy.
Dreamcast.
You will waste hours in the arcade in that game.
I haven't even got to that point yet because like the control, and I'm not saying it's a terrible game so far because I have enjoyed the amount of detail it is for a Dreamcast game.
Yeah.
And even how great, because I'm playing the proper Dream. I'm not playing like an upscaled version. I'm considering buying the remaster on Steam, like in a couple of weeks, just so I can use my analog sticks instead of the D-pad to move. But it's kind of cool so far. I really feel bad and I've had a Dreamcast this entire time.
Yeah. I never really got on the Shenmue train. It was not one of my things. I played a little bit of it, got to the arcade, played some arcade games, and that's the extent of it.
I know that you get something for completing Outrun, and that is one of my favorite arcade games of all time. Outrun is so chill. It's
So
a
chill.
relaxing game. It's a relaxing game. It has game mechanics.
I have great enjoyment for this entertainment product.
It stimulates my pleasure sensors.
Shenmue 3 got kickstarted.
Yeah.
And there were some... I feel like there was some controversy behind it or something like that. I can't remember, but...
3?
Yeah. Supposedly it's in the works and it's going to come out.
It's one of those sequels in the ether, kind of like what Duke Nukem Forever was, where it's just like, and the next platform is going to have Shenmue 3, and the next platform is going to have Shenmue 3.
Yep.
When we do get it, I feel like no one's going to care.
Yeah, probably. I mean,
for, like, the
Shenmue, I feel like, had kind of already fallen out of the collective consciousness when the Shenmue 3 campaign was announced.
Yeah.
Back at E3 2015. And
that's right. Forgot about. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, people got excited about it then.
Yeah.
I'm sure once it finally rears its head, people could just get excited again. But.
And they did somewhat recently. I feel like it was last year that they released the remastered versions of 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Which come as a package together. You know why I started playing it this week? Because I get weird ads on my phone via Facebook for like video game and geek related stuff.
Sure.
Almost like
and some site was like selling the jacket that he wears in the first game, and I was just like, people have been talking about Shenmue periodically over the course of my entire life since it came out, and I never trusted those people if it was a good game or not, but I kind of like this jacket, so I kind of want to see what the game is about.
Is that how you decide how to play?
Hey, I like that jacket. I'm going to play this game.
Yeah.
I have gotten into things ass backwards all of my life. For example, I got into Scott Pilgrim when that was cool through the game.
That's right.
I didn't know anything about the movies, let alone the comic books, but I was like, this game is kind of cool.
And a soundtrack by Anna Monoguchi.
Exactly, which is how I got Anna Monoguchi. But I get into everything ass backwards, and it's kind of fun to like reverse engineering myself into a fandom.
Yeah. Speaking of weirdly placed ads, this episode is brought to you by Ripped Apparel.
Get ripped!
RIPT Apparel. They make nerd and pop culture mashup shirts. They have some limited shirts that they do and stuff like that. They have, some deals. It's cool shirts.
They tuck me in at night.
Yeah, they're neat. Go to toplessrobot.com/ripped, toplessrobot.com/RIPT.
Get ripped or get out. Speaking of get out, I did watch the trailer for Us.
Isn't it?
It looks great.
I cannot.
Is it out or is it come out?
It comes out. It comes out
soon.
March 22nd.
Reviewers have started. Yeah, reviewers have seen it, but it comes out soon.
I've heard good things.
IGN gave it a 9.
Too much water.
This is only hyping me up for the Twilight Zone.
Yes.
Coming out on April
AKA
1st.
The only reason I will ever pay for ABC All Access.
Yeah.
Just pirate it like don't do that because we're good law-abiding citizens.
What did you say, Tyler?
I said nothing.
I'm calling the police right now.
Now that I am an old man who has a well-paying, day job, I am sick of seeing the things that I enjoy disappearing because people, they can't get money for them. And so I try to make sure that my view counts.
I do the same thing.
Which is why I watch The Orville on Hulu.
Yep.
See, I don't pirate them. I just don't watch any of them.
Yeah, I'm excited to see his take on Twilight Zone.
It'll be cool. It looks interesting. It looks a little bit less anthology. Like almost kind of the trailer for it almost gave me feel like there's like a overall mystery.
Well, we don't know that the trailer didn't really show.
It just
a
gave
lot.
me that feel. It didn't show a lot, but it gave me a weird feeling about that. Like I don't know.
Well, so
Very eloquently stated, Tyler.
Yes, thank you.
Zeke and I had a discussion about this last night because we were talking about our excitement for the Twilight Zone and why we enjoy the original show so much. And we had a conversation, and some of the points that we made were like, we can all agree that not every episode of the old Twilight Zone was good because everyone has their favorites.
How dare
there are
you.
some that shut up, Tyler. There are some that that fall flat that are just pretty lame. But the great thing about the show is that there was no continuity.
Yeah.
Nothing carried over. There were no two-parters. It was just
Well, it was episodic instead of serial.
Here's a screenplay that somebody wrote, and it's a half hour.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really excited to see if he's going to stick with that format. I don't know if he's going to have anything that carries over, but I very much anticipate this being good.
I hope that it does keep that episodic format because I prefer just tell me an interesting story in half an hour.
Yeah.
I could see them doing, like I said, there's just little bits of the trailer that it was like, okay, that looks like it almost made me feel like they could take the Black Mirror route, where Black Mirror was the entire
shared universe thing.
Shared universe,
No,
and then
don't.
the end kind of wraps it up a little bit, but it wasn't like each
Well,
episode.
it didn't really wrap it up.
Didn't
though.
wrap it up, but the last episode of season 5 had different items from different, like the
That's what shared universe means.
It's the universe where Cher is in every universe.
But I mean, literally, that's just them. Instead of like
I understand.
with Aliens and Blade Runner having Weyland Yutani like in both.
We're making the same argument. I understand what a shared universe means.
I'm not. cool your shit, sir. I'm saying that yes. We, with Black Mirror before that episode, we all knew it was a shared universe because there were little references, and
throughout.
because that's how people impose shared universes, like how Gravity Falls and Rick and Morty are a shared universe.
Yes.
With just these little hints. That last episode was just them saying, yes, it is a shared universe. Would you like me to write it in big lettering on this wall?
Would you like us to
Please
just put all
notice.
of those Easter eggs into one room
Yeah.
and just point at it and say, look, there it is.
Yeah.
And
It
it's
removed all the subtlety of what people enjoy of shared universes, I think. But
and it's I was looking forward to when Black Mirror first came out. I was
Cape Fear and Black Mirror mixed together.
Camp Mirror. But I was really hoping that it would be a modern spiritual successor to the Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
And in some cases it is, but it's just not. It's not quite there. I feel like they were a little heavier handed, because like some Twilight Zone episodes were very much like, this is obvious social commentary. But there are a couple ones where it's kind of like, well, you can interpret this as this or this, but
Sure.
they didn't really they didn't push it. They just presented it to you and said, make your decisions. And I really hope that the Twilight Zone stays with that spirit.
Well, and I would say that Black Mirror is more like Twilight Zone, but specifically with the focus being near future technology.
5 minutes in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you a Twilight Zone fan, Dan?
I have no idea what we've been talking about for the last 15. I am literally just looking into the camera every now and then, staring off into space, just waiting to hear something I recognize.
I tried to keep him entertained with my
Are you?
I'm looking for parts to bite on, guys, and I don't watch shows.
I feel like
I know that's my fault. I don't watch them, and that's on me. But no, I haven't watched Twilight Zone. I haven't watched Black Mirror.
So you've never seen Twilight Zone?
I know that there's people called fucking Mulder and Scully, and that's
No,
all.
that's the X-Files.
The X-Files. Yeah, see?
Dan? Okay.
The Twilight Zone is a show from the fucking 50s.
Nah, dude, I haven't
All
watched.
right, time out on the field. Time out on the field. I got a T on the play here. Flag on the play.
a T on the play. Yes.
Roughing the passer.
Those are sports.
You got to watch some T-Zone. All right. And if you're down when we're done, if you'd like to watch one episode with us, I would love to be in the room and share that experience with you.
Brooks can show you the zone.
I can show you the zone.
Brooks can show you the zone.
Well, and it's the same thing I always tell
Black
you guys.
and gray and
Terrifying.
The amount of time investment watching shows takes is usually something that I don't get into, because when I have free time, I do.
You play
other
Dark
stu-
Souls.
I do
Well-
other stuff.
well,
yeah.
here's
I don't have TV time.
He plays Neo.
The last show I can remember actively going out of my way to watch on my own was the Castlevania Netflix series, which was fucking
Which
incredible.
was amazing.
I still need to
It's
watch
like
that.
the only thing I've gone out of my way to watch.
So here's an incentive for why Twilight Zone is a show that a person who does not watch TV, because I don't watch as much TV as most folks do as well, there's zero continuity. And you can pick and choose based on the description of like, this seems interesting. I got like a half hour to kill. I'm trying to wind down to go to bed.
That's the other.
It is a I'm going to bed show. Not like I'm falling asleep, but like I'm going to go to bed after this kind of thing.
Okay.
And I like stuff like
Dan's like, this isn't selling anything to me.
I think in
thought-provoking.
general, considering some of them are kind of poetic in the twists and stuff like that, and it's from a bygone era, and it was really a pioneer for a lot of horror storytelling and psychological horror storytelling into present day. And so it's worth checking out. It's definitely worth checking out.
Honestly, the first episode is probably one of my favorite episodes of Twilight Zone, and I think it's one of the best first episodes of any show.
That is the one with the thing on the plane wing.
No,
isn't it?
No.
Terra or Nightmare at 20,000 Feet is in season.
I do
3.
know about all
really?
of those like super well known.
Yeah,
scenes,
the one with like
the man who has the world to himself to read. And
Yeah.
blah blah blah.
That popped up
and
on
then
Facebook.
breaks his glasses.
Yeah, exactly. I know about
Time enough at last.
Yeah.
That's about it.
The writing on that show is phenomenal. And then after Twilight Zone, Rod Serling went on to do other work before his death. A fantastic show called Night Gallery came after that, which is taking the concept of the Twilight Zone and making it scary. Because like Twilight Zone in and of itself has some episodes that are kind of like, ooh, this is
When I
kinda
was a
spooky.
little kid, there were some things that really stuck with me, like the surgeon's face.
Yes!
Is something that
Ah!
was a nightmare for me as a child.
Never seen
The Surgeon's Face, or Eye of the Beholder is a really good episode. The Jungle is a really cool one about consequences. There are feel-good episodes. There are episodes where it's like, oh man, this guy's life is shitty, and something intervenes, and now his life can be good, or he realizes the value of himself. And it's that was my phone. But yeah. But moving away from the Twilight Zone, because I know that Dan, you haven't seen the show yet.
So moving away from Twilight Zone, The Outer Limits is a great show.
Yes.
I'm just gonna take a nap.
Wah,
you
wah,
guys.
All right, Dan.
wah,
What did you do this week,
wah.
Dan?
I got back into Warframe, which was a pretty big deal for me. It was like a fucking
Warframe.
several hour long.
I didn't dig on that too much.
I love Warframe. I've been playing that game for God,
Where
close to 6 years now.
Warframe?
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard it's pretty much the best free-to-play game that you can play.
Oh, it absolutely is. They have been constantly pumping out content the entire time the game has existed.
This is a mech game, right?
No.
No, okay.
No, not
I'm
at
thinking
all.
of something else then.
You're like a cyber ninja.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Okay, all right. What platform is that on?
All of
It's
them.
on everything. It even came out on Switch like last month.
Oh.
It's pretty time investment intensive. So if you don't have a lot of time to dedicate to one game, I don't recommend getting into it.
Time enough at last.
But as far as the development cycle has gone, it went from a game where you just have a few weapons and you go in and just find some basic objectives and murder a bunch of space people. Now they actually have a fleshed out world that have a couple open world areas that have like atmospheric events that are happening all the time, with more concrete quest lines, and their character writing has actually become very, very good. It's surprising. The big thing they came out with recently is Fortuna, which is essentially the idea behind it is one of the enemy factions. This game's called the Corpus. It's pretty much a money cult. Like,
Ooh, okay.
they talk about like the Prophet, as you would think it'd be like the PROPHET Prophet.
Yeah.
No, it's PROFIT.
Okay.
And
So
these,
they're seeking their fortuna.
well, yeah.
Oh, Fortuna.
These people who live in Fortuna are essentially slaves, and in the way that works is if you're not able to pay your debts off, they come and take your body parts, and they'll just keep taking you.
So it's the world of Repo the Genetic Opera.
Yeah, and exactly. If you go far enough in debt, they just put your brain in a jar on the shelf for a long enough time that they consider your debt paid off, and then they just put your brain back into like a robot.
And thus Futurama was born.
It's very, very messed up. It's wonderful.
Or Altered Carbon.
Yeah, right.
And yeah, the gameplay is exquisite. And also with Fortuna, they added in hoverboards, so that's sick.
Sick.
Yeah, hoverboard.
So are
Gonna
they
grind down to the video
Are
mall.
they the two-wheeled hoverboards or the Back to the Future?
The actual hoverboards. The ones that,
that
the
would be
ones that,
awful.
the ones that hover.
Right? Be so great. Oh yeah, man! You hit level 16, you get a hoverboard. Awesome.
Bitchin'.
That would actually be a really funny thing. Just like the day
mod.
one. No, just day one. They're like, and they're like they like promote like hoverboards are coming to the game, and they just put them in just for one day and
That
then
would be
switch them
great.
out.
That would be so good.
Keep it. I got a pit bull.
I would laugh.
That'd be pretty great.
That's rad. That's rad. So you've been playing Warframe this week.
Yeah.
What have you been playing, Ryan?
I have been playing Aegis Defenders.
Aegis like AEGIS.
AEGIS, yes. It is a Humble Bundle developed game.
Humble Bundle.
So, Humble. Humble finally added third-party games, third-party Switch games to their store. Because you know how they added Switch games to the store?
Yeah.
But they were all first-party at first. Now there's some third-party games up there. It's not everything that's in the eShop, but like some stuff. And another thing, to promote it, like the only times that I bought a Nintendo Switch game through the Humble store is when they've been like, "Hey, take this money off." I'm like, "Okay, yeah, sure, why not?" So they sent me, $5 off a Switch game, and I looked at him. I was like, "Aegis Defenders looks pretty neat," and it's kind of like a story-driven, pixely, that beautiful art style that has points of tower defense.
Okay.
So
you lost me at tower defense.
there are two characters. It's this girl and her grandfather, and you can switch between the two, and you can tell one to wait or whatever, or someone else can play as that other character. And you guys are basically scroungers through through ruins. You get stuff to sell and whatnot.
Okay.
And the grandpa can place blocks down. Like you can mine the yellow minerals, and that's for his stuff. And you can place blocks down. If you stack 2 blocks in the same spot, it turns into an auto turret. And the girl places bombs, and if you stack 2 bombs, they turn into a speed strip. The nail strip.
Yeah.
And so at the end, the pattern seems to be you go through and do some puzzles that consist of switching back and forth between the characters to whoever is relevant for whatever section. To get to the end, you find a thing, like a big thing, and then it becomes more tower defense-y, but not like tower defense-y in the traditional sense. It's, okay, protect this thing for X number of waves, and waves of enemies will come at you out of the portals on either side that, whatever one is lit up is what's going to bring you enemies. Each character is strong against a different type of enemy, and so you have to lay the traps, well, like their weapons well. And they can attack in addition to like dropping, these things. She's got a gun and he's got like this hammer. But overall, it's pretty fun. It's a good thing to pick up and play and just kind of set aside for a while.
I'm not much for tower defense games, but I can appreciate a good tower defense game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I would say that it is a good tower defense game. It's not one of those where it doesn't follow the same formula as every other tower defense game where it's like, okay, a wave of enemies is going to come through and follow this specific path, and you have to build up your towers along this specific path.
Which is why I generally dislike tower defense. The genre is I dislike the wave thing.
So
I enjoy it.
This vaguely reminds me, the way you're talking about, there's a little more active participation in it. Have you ever heard of Sanctum?
I've heard of Sanctum. I've never played it before, though.
Same.
Sanctum 2 is the best fusion of tower defense with any other genre. It's tower defense and first-person shooter at the same time.
Okay.
That sounds actually really cool.
Sanctum
I'd play
2,
the hell
Tower
out of that.
Boogaloo.
Yeah. So it is, again, it comes in waves, and it's the classic, you're built, but it's in a 3D environment that you actually have to platform through while you're building towers.
The first person element already makes that sound
that
more
sounds
interesting.
super
And there
cool.
are different characters who have different guns, and the big part of it is you are setting up towers and defenses, but on top of that, certain enemies have weak points that the towers can't access. And you have characters like one has a charged up shotgun, some of them have like a rifle, and you can't just win unless you're also running around shooting the enemies in the appropriate style. So you actually have the group of people with all of the different guns, and you team up that way in addition to your defenses.
That sounds really interesting.
It is the best tower defense game I've ever played. It is hard. It's so good. That's back from like 2013, I think. Sanctum 2 came out.
Yeah, I
in.
remember. I've seen it on Steam before, but I never really gave it a second thought.
And we know that if Dan
absolutely
says something
still-
is hard, then it's probably hard.
Yeah.
Then it is not Tyler safe.
Absolutely still worth a look.
Literally nothing in the world is Tyler safe.
I'm basically a giant baby.
I could put
it's
those,
rated T
those
for
child protective things on the corners of my house, and you'd still hurt yourself.
I had to buy those. I had to buy like those socket protectors for your electrical sockets, like, for my house, for myself.
When I have that fork in my hand, it just looks so interesting.
We need to get Tyler a protective helmet for when he's on the podcast, just to be safe.
I actually spent the first 13 years of my life
Like
in a
a-
giant bubble.
Like like John Travolta.
No, more like Jake Gyllenhaal.
yeah.
Oh man.
So I regret to inform everyone that we've come upon the end of the podcast.
Blast!
No.
So I would like to take this opportunity to remind everyone that we are also brought to you by Humble Bundle. If you go to toplessrobot.com/humble, that will put our little partner code in the URL and just buy anything, and it helps us out a bunch. There's like I said, they just added a bunch of third-party Nintendo Switch games. Humble, if they add everything that's in the eShop and they end up catching up with the eShop, I'm just going to buy all my Nintendo games on Humble.
Here's why you should subscribe to Humble Bundle, because I'm planning on doing that come next check. They have games, they have deals, and they support us. So if you like any of those things, just do it.
And I mean, it's cheap, man.
Yeah.
9 games every month for $12, and they're usually pretty good games. Like I started playing some of the ones that unlocked this month. That Beat 'em Up, which has gratuitous boob jiggle and very Neo Geo Pocket Color graphics.
Excellent.
Sounds like a game for me.
It is a lot of fun and feels super smooth. The animations are really, really nice. I also played that Outrun clone.
Yeah. What did you think?
It's okay. I was never really an Outrun guy anyway. I like games like Ridge Racer and shit.
Yeah,
like that.
Ridge Racer is pretty cool. Outrun is one of those things I like to kind of unwind with because it's low levels of excitement.
One thing that I will say is super awesome about that is I can't even remember the name of the goddamn game. But one of the things that was really cool about it is, so you're like racing through, pretty slick synthwave soundtrack, and then you pull up on your rival for that race, and they have a character portrait over their car. So like you'll be driving, and he's like, "Oh, okay, let's fucking do this," and starts joins in. And I lost both of my races, but you do 2 races at once, basically, or 2 races one right after another. And so I pulled up on, he had gotten to the finish line already. I pulled up on him, and then these signs come up, and it's like, this place or this place. And
like
you either go
Outrun.
to the right or go to the left, and it just turns into that place.
And
there's no loading or anything. You just continue driving.
That's awesome.
What's really cool about the original Outrun is that it's got that branching path system. Going right means is selecting a more difficult challenge, whereas going left is an easier. I'm not going to say that it's easier. It's just not as difficult.
Sure.
You still end up with hazards toward the end, but it's less frustrating.
Yeah. So yeah, anyway, go to toplessrobot.com/humble. It is super fucking worth it.
A portion of the proceeds do go to supporting Dan's torture chamber. So if you want to cause pain to Dan.
You know,
the Make Dan Cry Fund.
The ideal is that we actually get enough money for the torture chamber that you can hear my screams through the walls
Yep.
instead of just when you're in the dungeon.
I mean, we
We're
can
also
just
saving up-
remove drywall.
We're also
no, we
saving
have
up-
to be legitimate about how we approach this, okay?
Is it a PA torture system?
Yeah, we're saving up for a PA torture system so everyone can take pleasure in Dan's screams of anguish.
When we get close to the goal, we'll have a 24-hour stream going on, and the more they add, the goal is you'll finally be able to hear the microphone pick up my agony.
Not to brag any, but it's pretty great.
And then they drop the balloons.
We'll get.
Anyone have any rants or raves this week instead of ranting against jokes that Brooks makes?
Rant against the machine.
Oh.
Case in point.
Yup.
Happy Mario Day, by the way.
Oh yeah, it is Mario Day. It is
March
March 10.
10.
Yeah.
Who's Mario?
I have a rave because I recently stumbled on a podcast that I really enjoy called Animated Opinions, where they watch animated movie. Like I think they were both film students, and they watch animated movies. Some of them absolutely terrible.
Marcy's moms.
Yeah, Mards. I said Mards.
Mards
needs
Wolfman's got Mards.
Mards needs mods.
Mars needs moms, space chimps, and this is how I found out about Video Brinquedo. Video Brinquedo is a very special type of bad. The movies that they watched are called Ratatouille and Little Panda Fighter. I'll give you 2 guesses, because there's 2 things, on what those things are ripoffs of.
I got a guess. I have
Okay.
a guess. The Shining?
They may as well be, because good Lord, they are horrific. I actually sat down and watched these movies yesterday.
Barry Lyndon.
Yes. Just sticking with Kubrick, huh?
Yeah. Well, I was trying.
Obviously,
I was trying to
Schindler's
pull Barry. the color purple.
Tyler probably needs to move his car or something.
I can't get out.
Oh no.
Yeah. So everybody say goodbye to Tyler.
Bye, Tyler.
I made a boo boo.
That's what he gets for
out.
parking in the driveway behind. Yeah. Bye, Tyler.
How dare you?
Bye, everybody.
Go out and think about what you've done.
Gonna be over
He just
before I
leaves.
go.
So,
He just drives away.
obviously it's Ratatouille and
Kung Fu.
Kung Fu Panda.
Kung Fu Panda. I almost said Kung Fu Hustle.
And the animation is so bad. None of these are textured. They're all like flat color models.
Oh, I know exactly this bargain bin knockoff style.
Oh my god, it's so
It's
bad.
not as bad as Food Fight, is it?
For some reason, the panda, or not the panda, the polar bear in Little Panda Fighter is like super ripped. Like they gave him big man abs
Furry fries up.
and pecs, and it's a thing. And for some reason, the sensei in Little Panda Fighter, there's something going on with his eyeballs. They don't track those eyeballs well. And so it's a Brazilian studio that only makes knockoffs.
Kind of like the Asylum.
That's China's
basically.
territory, okay?
Basically.
Yeah, I know, right?
So
Show
let's
me
see.
what you got.
Little Panda Fighter. The cat in Ratatouille is an absolute abomination. But I mean,
Hi, Tyler.
I'm back.
like you
I
can,
inherited this club. I retired from the ring.
Aw, gee, what a crying shame.
and there's inconsistent number of fingers from character to character.
I wish I could help somehow, but I really don't know much about it. That is,
That expression on his face looks like he
must have watched loads of
he
matches
pissed
while
on
you
the
were
rug
here.
and he knows about it.
well, To tell you the truth,
I hate
I've never
this.
been much of a boxing fan. I find
And
it a little
it's
too
funny
violent.
because
It's just not my
you can
thing.
tell
I
that
pretend
with
to
the
like it.
animation, they didn't do any studies in movement or anything like that because it's just like when you're editing something in After Effects and you're like, well, it needs to end here, so it's just kind of like, and there's no
Oh God. What is it?
Yeah.
We jumped.
What is
We
it?
jumped straight into the Asian stereotype.
no textures.
The proper attire for chanting
They
the
definitely got
This looks like less polished, but just as bad as fucking Food Fight.
Like I don't even know what he's supposed to be. I guess he's supposed to be a bear of some
I
sort.
swear I won't be
Barely.
again, I promise.
Did they had to have gotten these off
Hey,
of like
hey,
free-
baby, what's Earth's sign?
So the premise of this is the panda.
Oh yeah.
Hold on, we're about to see some of this masterful eye animation. Look at this.
Me, Wander?
The sensei's
Too
eyes.
much confusion can make you seem mentally unstable.
They're just
I
moving.
think you are unstable. What's weighing you
They just get worse.
Is he having a seizure?
It's been a-
Does this bear need medical attention?
That's not what I
Ouch.
meant. What burdens
This
your
hurts
mind?
my-
It's so
You,
bad.
you know what the bear looks like?
girl?
The bear looks like one of the aliens from Aliens in the Attic.
Meat and everything.
I don't think I ever
Like
saw
a low
Aliens
res.
in the
Don't,
Attic.
don't. It's
Okay.
It's bad.
Okay, turn this off.
Yeah.
is bad.
So
Crap.
the premise is that the panda works for a like a boxing place, and but he has no interest whatsoever in fighting.
Bare
he
knuckle
just wants to
boxing.
dance, and the polar bear is a fighter and like wants to relive his heyday and puts on his old costume and it doesn't really fit. So he gets into the ring as this masked, fighter that he used to be, and it like shrinks on him while he's up there, and it is conveniently placed in such a way to match the black spots on the panda. So everyone thinks that the panda fought and won. And that same night he wasn't there, he was at a dance audition. So people will walk up to him and start congratulating him on doing so well, and he's like, "You were there? You were there?" And so he thinks that everyone's congratulating him on winning on his dance audition and not for winning the fight. And then, so here's the whole story summed up. The confusion is identified between the panda and his employer, the polar bear. And so the panda decides to fight for real in the next match. The polar bear bets against him, and of course he loses. And the polar bear dips town, and panda takes over the fighting bar and turns it into a dance bar.
And podcast.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Yep.
That is apps.
There's another little bear that's like
I don't even
a
have any
bookie.
jokes for that.
There's
No, it's
bad.
there's another little bear that's like a bookie that
It's the joke.
is modeled with a constant snot wad down his nose, and because they don't know how to animate anything at all, it just stays. So when he moves, it just stays rigid,
So
and it's always there.
it looks like he's like bleeding resin from a tree, kind of.
Basically, yeah.
Gross.
Yep,
Don't make if you're gonna make crap, make it more entertaining.
it's so bad. And
Don't release it to the public. Just
Ratatouille is not very good either. Surprise.
Oh, really?
You have to see this abomination of a cat, though. In Ratatouille,
Oh, it's the sequel to Ratatouille where he becomes a tattoo artist instead of a chef.
God. What is this?
oh, and it was actually uploaded by Video Brinquedo. So, like, their stuff is available on their YouTube channel for free, apparently. The cat is towards the end here.
Microsoft 98.
This was definitely animated in Paint.
Yeah, right.
No centro da mesa tem monte de
We don't need the
Blanche.
Portuguese. So the cat should be coming up here pretty soon. There it is. Yeah. I want to see it run. Please, let's see it run. It is an abomination. It is so terrible.
This is horrible.
So is this just like a straight ripoff of Ratatouille, or did they try?
Well, no, because the rats aren't making food for humans. There's this one rat who who has his own restaurant that's just the best restaurant for all the rats.
Oh.
That's it. And he ends up, like, by the end, he ends up making friends with the cat.
Where are...
I have no idea. No idea.
The camera pans are my favorite part.
Yeah.
When they obviously just so abrupt and unnatural.
And that movement, what movement is that? What movement is happening here?
He's doing the robot, clearly.
That's like those
I am
those Dutch clocks that have like the
he's the 3D printer in reverse.
And the bad guys in this are called the aristocrats.
Oh no.
You know, that's a sacred joke.
Yes, it is.
That is a sacred joke, and you
dying.
Video Prinketta's not allowed.
Oh, run, cat, run! Oh, it really is just the worst thing in the world.
Is it just like levitating and then moving over?
It does this when it's running on its hind legs. There we go. There it is. There it is. Whoop, 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 whoop.
It looks like, what is his face? He plays, he's in Willow, among other things.
Oh, I know who you're talking about, but I can't remember his name.
The guy that plays Grip Hook in the...
It's not Billy Barty. It's,
No, it's, I can see the word blurred out in front of me.
Yeah.
But it looks like if him in costume running.
Anyway.
That killed the podcast. We'll never see you guys again. I'm sorry. We are dead.
That was supposed to be a rave for this podcast, Animated Opinions. They're great. Emily and Mel, very funny. So far they have watched Barnyard. They've talked about Barnyard, Strange Magic, Mars Needs Moms, Video Brinketto titles, Space Chimps, and their episode this week was Jack and the Cuckoo Clock Heart.
A French rock opera about a part clock,
mostly boy. Jack and the Cuckoo Clock Heart.
All right.
You are a clock.
Check them out. They are a lot of fun. Anyone else have any rants or raves?
No. I just want to apologize to Jasmine for having my car just slightly in front of her on accident. I am so sorry, Jasmine.
You know,
this one's for you.
You know, when he slammed his car into the house when he arrived and just, you know.
I mean, I thought it was okay. The garage door's only mostly destroyed.
Stop writing checks you can't cash, son.
Thank you for watching and or listening, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Again. If you like that video, we've got many more videos, tons of episodes of the Topless Robot Podcast, all kinds of Let's Plays, and please subscribe.